because this is about racism. And if you can't hear it from them, then hear it from me. As a white woman and a daughter of a man of privilege and power, he knew that his strength was to bring people that didn't look like him to the table of government. And so 50 years later, after Barbara Jordan, aided by white people to have a voice, the first woman of color elected to the South, a woman who sat in the impeachment of Nixon, a woman who said that finally, after amendment, debate, and vote, I am finally part of we the people. To stand here as a 50-year-old woman and know that we now go back in time. So let's talk about cowardice and cheats. Because if you knew you could win this next election, you wouldn't be taking this effort to try to steal 5 seats from elected officials that members of color elected to represent them in Washington, D.C. You wouldn't be doing everything you can to take this coalition of diversity and stand up at the mic and say, why are we doing this? Because we can. And you shield your racism with your party, with ignorance and arrogance, to come up here and say, to be honest with you, I haven't read the bill from the other side. To be honest with you, I haven't talked to the lawyers to be bringing this before. Because you think that people will give you grace on ignorance and arrogance around party, because you can't admit that the root of all of this is about racism and power. Power grab, a pure power grab. And so I'm going to ask, don't shake your head, because I'm going to give you a moment to prove what you mean behind that. Because when Donald Trump called Georgia Republicans and said, hey boys, I need you to steal me almost 12,000 votes. To those men credit, they said, no sir. We already know what Governor Abbott.
Well, y'all just need to stop calling America racist. Stop calling America racist. America's not racist. I live in the state of Alabama.
I'm actually surprised. I'm shocked. Like, legit, I'm surprised that my brain is still trying to process what happened last week. Because it shouldn't be. This country is built on hurting black people.
It has always been racism with these people.
I'm actually surprised. I'm shocked. Like, legit, I'm surprised that my brain is still trying to process what happened last week, because it shouldn't be. This country is built on hurting black people. The United States of America they'll if they hear that they can hurt a black person, they'll get it done in minutes. If they hear that they are going to help somebody, they'll have to set up studies. They'll have to have whole committee meetings about it, all this different shit. They got to the Voting Rights Act. They pulled out them old racist maps. They went, here you go. And in Alabama, they had tornado warnings going off. They could have been killed by a tornado, but instead they said, wait a second, before we run down to the shelter, we got to go get rid of black representation. In Tennessee, they went and destroyed the coverage of Memphis. In Mississippi, they are going to go use the building where they seceded from the Union. Because their current building's under work. They could wait. They could just wait until the building's ready. And in a lot of these places, they're suspending primary elections that have already started. And the thing is you go, okay, well, maybe the Democrats can push back. Well, I don't think you're missing a big part of the issue here. Which is that in this country, if you're a Republican and you want to hurt black people, there are no laws to stop you. But if you're a Democrat, you want to make anything better, not only do you have to be perfect, but every single court in the fucking country will show up and kick your shit in. Because that's what just happened today in Virginia. They set up a 10-1 remander, try to fix this shit to counteract Texas, and the Virginia Supreme Court said, no, how dare you? You can't possibly use the weapons of the enemy. We have to let it be perfect. It was in Virginia. The voters chose that map in Virginia. In Texas, Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi. God damn! What they had to do? Get a bunch of white men in suits and ties to go, boom, map's gone. They didn't have to hold an election. They didn't have to hold a fucking press conference. They didn't do any of that shit. And now who's going to suffer? Black people. Black people are going to suffer. And here's the thing I know about black suffering in this country. It trickles up. It trickles the fuck up to everybody else. Because the whole purpose of what the South wants to do right now is to reinstitute a hierarchy with just a few white families on the top and a bunch of dumb fucks stuck in the middle and an entire base of black people that those dumb fucks can look down on. That's where we are. That's where we've always been. But for the last 60 years, we had the veneer that we had moved past it. Enjoy your $2.50, America.
It has always been racism with these people. I need you to understand that the Civil Rights Act was only passed 62 years ago. The average age of the House is 57. The average age of the Senate is 64. The average age of the Supreme Court, which just dismantled the Voting Rights Act, leading to these map redraws disenfranchising black voters across red states, is over 65. The president was damn near a grown man when the Civil Rights Act was passed. The same guy who took out an ad advocating for the death penalty for the Central Park Five. Half these people in power are older than the civil rights legislation in the US. And do you think everybody just changed their minds and got along after it was passed? No. Businesses in the South shut their doors rather than serve black Americans. Public spaces like city and county pools closed down rather than integrate. Public schools shut down rather than integrate. You had shootings on public beaches in places like Texas, mob beatings in places like Georgia, police beatings across the country. We've had lawsuits about desegregation all the way up into the early 2000s in places like Texas. In the wake of Katrina, you had white people just taking pot shots and shooting at and killing black Americans in the street just for being outside and calling them looters. You've got people being found hanging from trees in modern times. We've got the media calling one group of people rioters and another group of people doing the same thing, but maybe even more violent, peaceful protesters, or just going on a guided tour. It has always been about discrimination, subjugation, and opportunity for a specific group. And to the women who voted for this, do not be shocked when the voices calling for an end to the 19th Amendment, which are on your side, start to get louder. Do not be shocked if a court case comes down the pipe and this time it's aimed at you. Because again, it's liberty, representation, and opportunity for one group. Just look at their slogan. First of all, America has never been great for everyone, but make America great again. The time frame they're talking about, it was only great for one group that looked like this. And we should be great. We should be the greatest country in the world for everyone here. But unless we get these people out of power and undo the damage they have done, we never will be.
You realize that the most racist scientific community ever were 19th century anthropologists. They're the ones that set up the race and this, and white male humans were at the top of the evolutionary ladder, and blacks and everybody else were lower, closer to the apes and all of this. If you called someone Neanderthal, that was an insult. Like, they're still evolving. In the 1990s, now that we can do genetic tracking and things, the world found out that Europeans are between 1% and 3% Neanderthal genetically, and Africans are 0% Neanderthal. So in the 1990s, research papers started coming out talking about how creative and imaginative the Neanderthals must have been.
It's only been 1 week since the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act, and southern states have already undone decades of progress. Florida immediately jammed through new maps, even though they passed a constitutional amendment in 2010 against gerrymandering. Louisiana suspended their primary to push for new maps, even though 42,000 votes have already been cast. Tennessee Republicans just voted to break up Memphis and get rid of the only majority black district in the state. Alabama Republicans passed a measure to delay their primary if courts allow them to redraw maps. South Carolina Republicans are extending their legislative session to, you guessed it, gerrymander their maps. That's all in 1 week without Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. 1 fucking week. A single week, and black Americans across the South are about to lose equal representation. It's almost like the entire civil rights movement was aimed at passing the Voting Rights Act for a reason.
White man from the South says they saw black people as pets.
As far as the colored people were concerned, I feel that they were a good bit happier than they are now. They had less in the way of material things. But I can remember back in the 20s, when I was a small boy, they were always singing at their work. They had a great sense of humor. And now today, they just don't seem to care much about that as they used to. And I think they've lost their sense somewhat, which I deplore.
Mr. Hasty, what did you think we were before you began to think of us as human beings?
Well, in a way, we thought of you almost as a very superior pet. Something, or rather someone, we had to take care of, because we had to do so much of their thinking for them. We had to do almost everything for them, except living their own lives. Anything outside, we had to do for them.
See, black folks know why they're here. Native peoples know why they're here and how they got here. A lot of Asian folk know, particularly if they're Chinese American, they know they got here because their ancestors were brought over to work on the railroads by the railroad barons who didn't care if thousands of them died laying track 19, 20 hours a day. But for those of us who are from Europe, we have this fiction that we've told, and we believe it, even though there's no truth to it. You know what the fiction is? It's two parts. Number one, we say things like, with regard to Mexicans coming over the border, with regard to immigrants coming over, but only that border. That's the only one we care about, right? The southern border. I find that interesting. We're not flipping out about Canada, right? We don't have any of the Minutemen or the anti-immigrant groups sitting off the coast of Nova Scotia with a gun and a scope, trying to pick off the sneaky Canadians that are trying to sneak in here for our superior healthcare system. Which, after all, would be a pretty stupid thing to do. But in any event, we only care about that one border, forgetting for a minute that that border was created at the end of a war that was started on false pretense by this country, after which we jacked half of their country. And you weren't taught that in school either, because our history books aren't interested in telling the truth. They tell this very patriotic history that has no relationship to the fact. So that border is artificial. Mexican folk who are coming here, documented or not, let's be clear, are coming home. Their families were here before our families were here in almost every instance. But we forget that, and then we say things like, well, I don't mind them coming. I just want them to come legally like my people did. The hell does that even mean? Come legally? There was no law to break when our people came. The fact that we didn't break a law that didn't even exist, you don't get cookies for that. You don't get a pat on the back and a gold star because your great whatever was law-abiding when there was no law that he could have violated, even if he wanted to. But we've told this lie that we came for these upstanding principles. So we'll say things like, well, our people came for liberty and freedom, democracy. These people are just coming for stuff. They're just coming for jobs. They're just coming for health care. They're just coming for stuff. We came for high-minded principle, right? Because we believe that. What kind of third-grade version of American history is that, right? Like when Donald Trump says, well, Mexico's not sending their best. What the hell, you think Europe sent their best? Europe? No, our people were the losers of Europe. I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm just telling you the truth. Our people were the losers of Europe. The winners didn't get on the boat. You understand what I'm saying? The winners didn't leave. Why the hell would you leave if you were winning? Only the losers left because they had no choice. They were dying. They were starving. They couldn't support their families. A lot of them were convicts who were sold into indentured servitude to work for rich European people. They were barely above the level of a slave themselves. The idea that we had we didn't believe in liberty and freedom. And we know that because once we got to the colonies, we set up the opposite of liberty.
Black people literally freed themselves from slavery. And don't try to argue with me in the comments like y'all did on Instagram. People say it was a war for the Union, states' rights, whatever y'all like to teach your children, but the Civil War was literally a war of rebellion and liberation way before the Emancipation Proclamation was even signed, just like the Haitian Revolution was. And the truth is that the Civil War was not about freeing slaves. And for Lincoln, who y'all like to say freed the slaves, then for Lincoln, it was all about the preservation of the Union. And y'all love to romanticize white people in the North because they didn't actually enslave, but they still profited off of banks financing plantations and equipment, insurance companies with policies on enslaved black people, the northern cotton mills depending entirely on slave labor for their supply of cotton. Also, a huge one. The transatlantic slave trade primarily came through northern state ports, which literally funded construction in the northern states and directly funded the endowment of all of these prestigious universities like Yale, Harvard, Brown, Princeton. Trust me, the North benefited from and profited off of slavery just like the South did. The economy was just different. A lot of states in the North wouldn't even let free black people live there. And if they did, there were so many restrictions and so many limitations living in the North that there were more freed black people living in southern slave states before the war even started. Now stay with me, I'm about to land. Black abolitionists Harriet Tubman, William Still, and Frederick Douglass, between the three of them, freed over 1,400 slaves. And not to mention all of the other black abolitionists that we never hear or learn about. So after Lincoln was elected, but before his inauguration, Southern states started seceding. They were leaving the Union. 4 of them, South Carolina, Georgia, Mississippi, and Texas, all literally cited slavery as the reason for them seceding from the Union. And I told y'all before, Texas is actually the only state that seceded from 2 different countries to protect slavery. But Lincoln said he literally had no intention of abolishing slavery. White people in the North didn't end slavery because of some moral code that they had. The protection of slavery and abolishing it were both just political pawns used by both white people in the North and white people in the South. And the only reason that Lincoln abolished it was because at this point, it was more convenient to do so in order to protect the Union. So the South wanting to disunion in order to protect slavery is ironically the reason that Lincoln had to abolish it altogether. If the Southern states had never started to remove themselves from the Union, it would have been generations before slavery ended in the U.S. And while y'all want to focus on the white people who fought for the North to free slaves, please do not overlook the hundreds of thousands of escaped slaves that stood behind Union lines to fight as well, and how their escapes caused a humanitarian and an economic crisis. They alone are the only reason that emancipation was the only option. And one last thing, I'm gonna tell y'all one last thing about the good white folk of the North, right? Those are the same people that manipulated black people to fight for the Union in the first place with the 40 acres and a mule nonsense. But that never happened, even all the way up until 2019 when Bill H.R. 40 was struck down in the House, meaning all the way up until 2019, y'all still refused to give descendants.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Furaha, and those that are watching me for the first time, kindly consider subscribing to my channel. If you like this kind of videos, kindly I'm asking you to subscribe to my channel so that you will be part of this amazing family and get to see updates on black matters and the black community and everything that is happening around them every time that you need to acquaint yourself with whatever is happening. So guys, on today's video you have watched and you know what we are talking about. We are talking about the American fear, the white people's fear of being displaced by black people, and that is when we're talking about, for example, the politics of a country. And you see, the politics of a country is what makes the country what it is. And if there's any decisions, major decisions, they're made by the government and the people that are actually governing the country. Now, for a very long time, white people have been fighting against black people being represented, against black people being even given the right to vote, you know. They do not want black people to have representatives because they know that those people will block a lot of bad things that they always plan to do to black people. And for that reason, they make sure that the representation of black people is really low, and that acts to their advantage. And the other thing that you do realize is the fact that white people are usually very afraid of blacks being in leadership, because they know if a black person is leading, and if it's actually a majority of black people that are in top positions in terms of politics, then they are going to make sure that they curb every bad thing that is being planned against black people, and black people will know. And you see, that will protect them in a way. Also, the other thing that makes them really, really scared is the fact that they will now have to play equal, and they will have to be vetted by the same standards that are vetting the black people. And what do I mean by that? Sorry. What I mean is they will now have to be gauged according to their character, according to their prowess, according to their abilities. You know, it will be a fair ground for black people and white people alike. What that will do is it will make white supremacy useless. It will make white privilege go away really quick, because what white privilege and white supremacy does is it gives them an upper hand just simply because they have the right color, then it gives them an upper hand in whatever it is that they are trying to get to achieve, yeah. But for black people, you have to keep proving things, you know. They will look at your academics, your history, you know, your legal documents and everything of that sort. But for white people, if you have the right color, then you're good to go. Yeah. Now, if black people have a lot of people representing them, then it means that they are creating a society that is equal. Yeah. Because black people have people to speak for them and white people have people to speak for them, and making the interests of these two people always in check. Now that is exactly what white people do not want, because they're not ready to face the reality. They're not ready for fairness. They're not ready for justice, because they know that they're the biggest beneficiaries of injustices in America. They are the biggest beneficiaries of things, you know, getting things, acquiring things that they do not really deserve. They do not have to do much to get something. For example, if you're talking about a job, simply because you're white, you have a few points above a black person. And yeah, you know, that helps you, because now this other black person is having to fight a few demons before they even get to the points that you have, automatically making you the most preferred candidate for whatever job that is. Yeah. Now, white privilege, white supremacy will be eroded once there's a lot of representation for black people. And the other fear that white people always have, but they do not like to voice out really, is the fact that they think if black people are in power, and many of them, then they think that maybe black people will turn around and do to them exactly what they have been doing to black people over the years. Yeah, talking about from the time of slavery to now, the things that they have done in those 400-500 years, the things that they keep doing to this day, the things that they have made black people to endure, you know. They have made black people feel like they are not human beings. Yeah, they have done things you do not want to even have a discussion about, because how do you explain people eating other humans? How do you explain white people feeding their alligators and crocodiles with human kids, human black kids? Yeah. How do you explain such things? That's horrible. So they think that by having black people representing the rest of the black community, that maybe somehow they will get that thought, that idea, and try to do that to them as well. What they miss out on is the fact that black people are different. Black people are super different. And if you are keen on history, you definitely know that part of the biggest reason why black people have gone through all the things that they have gone through courtesy of the white people is because they were kind to them. For example, look at the situation of colonialism in Africa, and you do realize that if sorry you do realize that if black people were you know, not welcoming, not open to having visitors and allowing them to stay around for a long time, then probably colonialism will never happen. If black people were horrible, you know, if they were not hospitable, if they did not allow strangers to come to their place and, you know, settle in, then probably all these things would never have happened. But look at how black people were paid back. Yeah, they did amazing at welcoming the visitors, you know, trying to show them around, trying to make them feel comfortable and be okay in Africa. But they ended up paying them back with a lot of evil, a lot of killings, a lot of, you know, they just did outrageous things you do not want to imagine. All those things because black people were welcoming, they were hospitable. Yeah. And that should just explain to you what black people are like. No, you do not need any other evidence. That is who black people are. And I will tell you for sure that black people, that's who they are. still up to this day, not forgetting that all those things have happened, but they still can afford to be kind to other human beings. They look at other humans as equals. They look at every other humans as deserving of life. Yeah, everyone deserves life, everyone deserves respect. But white people have behaved like evil spirits. They do things that you just left wondering, because why would you do that to a fellow human being? Why would you want to put someone down for all those years and you do not have enough? When are you going to have enough of harassing black people? When are you going to have enough of making other people's lives miserable? Yeah, people that have not wronged you, people that you have wronged, and you continue to do that. It's almost a situation of they will only stop if there are no black people left on the face of the earth. And yeah, that just shows you that they're not willing to learn and be different and do things differently. So guys, let me know what you think about this video, and if you have encountered things that made you feel like white people are very afraid of black people in terms of representation and everything to do with voting and choosing leaders. Let me know what you think about that. And if you have not subscribed to my channel, kindly consider subscribing. And returning subscribers, thank you so much. There's one person that left a comment recently. I forget their name, but it was really funny, and I hope that you're watching this video today. He said he left a comment saying, I forgot to subscribe again. And bro, please make sure to subscribe today. And thank you so much for the engagements that I'm seeing in the comment sections of the other videos as well. And I hope that you people are keeping safe from wherever you're watching me from. Tough times, but let's stick together. Let's be mindful of each other, and it will pass. These too will pass. So I will see you guys on my next video. Bye for now.